Internet, hello you lovelies. Let's talk all about Andor Season 2, Episode 2, which deeply enriches the lore and the culture of each of our main storylines. There's like 4 ongoing storylines here, and each of them got a really interesting way to deepen things as we accelerate into the last one of the episodes of this first arc. They're doing this show as 9 episodes in 3 blocks, so it's really interesting how there's three-act structures seeming to be formed, and this second episode to be the second act and intensifying action, but also deepening things so we care more about each character. Very interesting storytelling mode. So going to be diving all into that. If you're new to this page, though, please hit that subscription bell. Rapidly approaching 50K. When we hit 50K, doing a 50 comic giveaway. Because this page covers comic books, movies, and TV. So if any of that is your jam, please hit that subscription bell. Going to be covering all of Andor, each individual episode, especially if these do well. So also like this video, so I know you guys like this format of each episode covered. And leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of Andor Season 2, Episode 2. Let's talk about it. This episode I thought was really interesting because we've got the ticking clock of Cassian Andor inevitably escaping, but in that time we build up this community of rebels amongst the rebels, these people that are totally lost, hungry, trying to figure out their way. And you've got these lost people literally fighting amongst themselves out of sheer desperation. And then you've got the Adria Ahonia storyline where it is people fighting out of desperation of being lost and illegal, seen as not welcome in their territory without the papers and all those elements, which obviously mirrors a lot of our world. But the lost panic there versus the lost panic in the jungle, and that accelerated. And I love the way they're painting the Empire. This door-to-door, very specific and familiar looking, uniforms as ever, and vehicles as ever, and then the commentary there on how we perceive people that are not welcome in certain places, and how we perceive this structure of like, well, it's the way it is. We have to deal with this audit. We have to go through this thing as they're searching, and the people that run are the ones that get in trouble. And this iron fist of authority and how terrifying that would be. So you've got that accelerating. We're also building about that relationship and the culture between the oppressor and the oppressed. Then you've got the rich folk wedding and what it is to be part of the rebellion from the top down, what it is to be trying to help when you've got the money. And that was a really interesting view of the culture of those folk with, again, the wardrobe says so much, but also, the physical settings, the beautiful courtyard environments where there's just this open communication and a lot of circles to have back and forth communication. And I really love that world feeling so lived in because it gives you a chance to not just have Empire and rebels. Like there is more to culture than just the oppressive, violent government and the people that are being oppressed. There's also the aristocracy that fuel any of this and how they see the world. And you've got people with money helping fight, and you've got people with money helping keep people down for the sake of that money. And it's really interesting seeing the dynamic here with obviously our 2 leads in that environment and how they're having to navigate the secrecy of being part of the Rebel Alliance and the rebellion in general. And I don't think the Rebel Alliance is formed yet, the rebellion in general. And I really love that in that we still got characters that I don't trust that give great speeches about seeking joy. That joy speech was incredible. Much like episode 1 had that incredible series of monologues between Cassian and the newcomer working at the Empire that I talked a lot about in my last review. This one I really enjoyed his perception of, even at that level of comfort, there's always trauma and sadness and all those things, and pushing through to find joy in this lush and joyous environment. It's just interesting to look at the culture of adding that language to it and adding those traditions and how much it felt like I'm watching a wedding of a culture I don't understand, but I'm learning from. Like when you go to a wedding, it's so rich in culture and you can learn so much about a people by going to weddings and funerals. And this was cool to see in a fictional one and building out that world. And then finally, the smallest of the segments in this episode, the Empire itself. The very stark white, sterile environment, and the woman that was one of the leads of season 1 being handed this Gorman assignment, and how that's basically a gift to have her fix, her standing amongst this community and how she doesn't want to do that. And the inner turmoil of like the yes, no, and Krennic not being able to basically have the time for anything, no excuses, just results, and the sterility of the Empire and the rigidity and all of that gross, inhuman numbers, and that speech with her guy and that new, employee of just like his glee of, writing this wrong in this really sterile, very accounting ones and zeros office with endless desks and cubicles, and the pride in that if you solve this thing, and what world we live in, our world of what you want to do. If you love accounting, hell yeah. If you love working your cubicle, hell yeah. But the difference between that and the farm life of husking the fields, and the aristocracy of Congress, and your power set, and then the rebels themselves in the jungle. And all of that escalated in this episode, but not by getting necessarily more action, but diving deeper into dialogue. There wasn't a ton of action this episode, this sequence. Biggest action was the random, forest creature, the monster that came out and took people out. That was like a big moment. And then again, the TIE fighter taking off. Once again, Cassian has to steal his way out of there and steal that ship again, but has learned it a little better since. I love that the action came from dialogue. I love when dialogue is so ready to, cause you to feel that it feels like an action set piece. So this episode, once again, instead of getting bigger and escalating, got deeper. And now we're going into the third act of block 1. And I think that's why they're releasing these as 333 is there's going to be like structure between each of them. So I'm really curious, as things have now escalated, as we've gone from, these contained environments, each one of these arcs has kind of had a tipping point. So I'm really curious, as things start to fall, as the dominoes start to fall, how this third act goes. And then I'm curious how the third act of the 9-act structure goes. So this was really interesting to me. I really had a great time with this episode. I, as always, want to stress how much I love when Star Wars feels like it's war. I love that we have these rival sections amongst the rebellion of just desperate people trying to figure out how to survive. And there's not much Cassian can do except escape. And I love that he's patient, waiting for vulnerability. He thinks with tactics, not with emotion. He's patient as he can be. And everyone waiting on Cassian, whether it's the rich elite or, the people just doing the farming, the agriculturalists, those two different environments just waiting. But he's literally trapped in this environment that gives us this great ticking clock storytelling, but it also shows the tactical mind of Cassian Andor. Then you've got, the Adria Honia storyline that just adds attention because you're worried what's going to happen. And we've got like this marching order feeling on that planet. And we've still got to see if they get out of there. Like, I love the conversation of the running, meaning that, you're guilty, just standing fast. And that gross lieutenant, how incredible is the scene where just with dialogue, you hate this dude and you feel the evil coming off of him and the implications. And that Ardra Honia never says a single lie. Everything she's saying is very true, but it is just enough truth, just enough of a sentence, just enough to get by, and walking that line until the dude shows up and that tension breaks. Like, so many moments in this episode. Really powerful stuff, all in the writing, all really incredible, all again with production design and costume design that feels very lived in, allowing these dialogue scenes to feel so impactful, allowing this world to feel so real and lived in so we can reflect on our own. That is what good storytelling is. Really, really loving Andor Season 2 so far. Really enjoyed Episode 2. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below about this fueling the fire episode with those 4 main storylines all interweaving. Curious which storylines interact first. Obviously, we're done with the planet where Cassian was trapped. So obviously, we're getting him going to the planet with Adria and everything with that building action. So I think we'll get some action there with the conflict between him and the Empire in some way. Whether or not there's any conflict with the Empire and individuals on that planet, we'll see. And then that's going to, turn into knowledge that Cassian was able to escape with the Skarsgård situation there. And we'll find out next episode, I imagine, what's going on with Gorman. So all of that coming in an hour, because I'm dropping these one at a time. So stay tuned. In an hour-ish, the next review will be up. Please subscribe so you guys see notifications for these videos. I'll be covering all 9 individually if these do well. If these videos don't do well, or if like the third one tanks because the first 2 and notifications, all that, I'll probably have to do them as junk, but I'd like to do them at once. So please, notifications on and likes and comments so this thing can grow. Let me know what you thought of Season 2, Episode 2, and I'll see you in an hour for Episode 3. Much love, and yeah, man, the force is strong with me with this show. I'm real happy as a casual Star Wars fan that my favorite bit of Star Wars series is back. Feeling Star Wars love. It feels pretty great. All right, I'll see you guys in an hour. Bye.